All right, welcome to part 2 of parabolas. I should take this taken care of over a couple days, plus there's probably a quiz sitting in there somewhere too. So kind of part 2, we're going to kind of take just a second here to start out with and just kind of review one of the questions from part 1 to make sure that you're good with that. And then we're going to work on going the opposite direction, where you're given kind of the formula and we want to find the vertex, we want to find the focus, we want to find the directrix, and we want to find those different types of things. So in this first example, we're given the vertex and the focus. We're going to go ahead and write the equation given those two things. So again, I'm going to go ahead and draw it first. So we've got a vertex that's at 3, -2, which is, let's say, right there. And I'm going to put a V there. And we've got a focus, change colors here. We've got a focus that's at 6, -2. There's our focus, is at 6, -2. We've got our vertex that was at 3, -2. Okay, so that tells me that my graph is going to look something like this. I can go through my 3, -2, but it's going to look something like that. So x equals y equals, so it looks kind of like an x, so it's going to be in the form x is equal to a times y minus k squared plus h. We already know the vertex, so we could fill that part in there if we wanted to. So let's go ahead and do that. So x is equal to a times y minus k. My k value at my vertex is -2, so it's going to be y plus 2 plus 3. So we got that part now. Now we got to take care of that a value. And that's the last part we have to figure out. So we got to figure out what our c value is. Doesn't really ask us. We don't really need. We can find this c value right there. The c value from the vertex to the focus is just 3. We know it's going to be positive. So our a value is equal to 1/4 times c. So c was 3, so 1/12. So we'll get x is equal to 1/12, y plus 2 squared plus 3. And there is our equation for this. Okay. Now let's go the other direction with this. Let's say that we have the equation 0 is equal to y squared minus 8y minus x plus 14. Okay, so now we've got this kind of equation thing going on, and now we want to find the vertex. So the things we're going to find the vertex, we're going to find the focus, and we are going to find the directrix. Okay, think about what we have here. So we got something equal to 0. We've got a y squared, and we've got a y, and we've got an x. So we've had two forms for parabolas so far. We've either had an x equals or we've had a y equals. Well, I've got an x in this problem, and I've got a y squared. So I've got a y squared. So we're going to solve kind of x first, because we want to put it in the form x equals or y equals. So we've got an x in there. We've got this, oops, that's not what I wanted to do. I meant to highlight. We've got this -x sitting in there. So we can go ahead and rewrite it as x equals. So we've got x is equal to, by moving it to the other side, you've got y squared minus 8y plus 14. And I'm going to give it some space, and I'll talk about y here right now. So giving it some space, because ultimately speaking, we have to have x equals a. Let's just make it bigger. So now, since we know what we have to do now, because ultimately speaking now we have to have x is equal to a times y minus k squared plus h. That's the form that we have to have it in. Okay, so that means essentially we've got to complete the square. So we have to change this around a little bit so that we have x equals y something squared. So we have to complete the square. So remember when we completed the square, we put this plus a box, and this is from a ways back, so this is a little bit of review in here, to help us complete that square. And the way we got that box, it was 1/2 of b squared. So 1/2 of b, half of b is 8, so half of b is 4. 4 squared is 16. So that means I'm going to put a 16 on there. But because we added 16, we just arbitrarily added this 16 in there, I can't change the equation itself. So I, in this case, have to subtract off 16 as well. I added 16, made it go like this, subtract 16, I got it back to now being level. So now that allows us to factor this part of it. Okay, so we're going to factor that part of it. So factor that part, we can do the x thing, but just remember that it's x, that sign, and half of b. So that's x minus 4 squared, and then minus 2. Okay. Looks good so far. Okay. What's my a value equal to? A value is going to equal 1. Okay, so can we find the vertex from this? So the vertex is going to be -2, 4. Yep, -2, 4. That's my vertex. The focus. Okay, so I'm going to sketch this graph. So let's think about this focus piece of it. So our vertex is at -2, -2, 4. Our vertex is right there. This is an x equals, and we know our a value is positive, so this thing's going to open in this direction. So I'm just going to sketch it. So the sketch of this graph has to look like this. So when we do that, we know that our focus needs to be right here somewhere, and our line, our directrix line has got to be right there. So we have to figure out what point that is. So we know our vertex is at -2, -4. We know that point. We know our a value is 1. Okay? But this distance from here to here, that distance is c. So we have to figure out what c is. So we know a is equal to 1. So we had the formula a is equal to 1/4c. So we got to find that c value to help us find where our focus is going to be and where our line of directrix is going to be as well. So we know the a value is 1. So that's going to give me 1 is equal to 1/4c. Multiply both sides by 4c. So 4c is equal to 1. C is equal to 1/4. So I know that distance right there. That distance right there has to be 1/4. So when I get my focus line, what's changing? Is my x value changing or my y value changing? Well, my x value is changing. So to get to my focus line, I'm going to go -2 plus 1/4. So -2 plus 1/4 is -1.75. And my y value doesn't change. That's my focus. My directrix line, it's a line, and again, my x value is changing, but now instead of adding 1/4, we're going to subtract 1/4, and then this is just going to be x equals. So in this case, x is going to equal -2.25. So there's my vertex. Found that by completing the square. My focus, found that by adding and subtracting my c value, or adding my c value. And then my directrix, I did that by subtracting the c value. That's what I wanted you to find in this question. Let's look at another one. Okay. Okay, so let's go 0. Ooh, let's not use a highlighter. Let's use a colored marker instead here. Let's go 0, 0 is equal to negative y squared plus 2x squared minus 4x plus 6. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to find the vertex. We're going to find the focus. And we're going to find the line of the directrix. Oops, my bad. It should just have been negative y. That makes it easier. Otherwise, we had a circle. Talk about that later. Okay, so we got negative y. So it looks like we're going to do a y equals in this one. Okay, because we've just got a y in there and we've got an x squared. So we're going to go y equals for this one. So I'm going to solve it for y. So y is going to equal 2x squared minus 4x. I'm going to put plus 6 in here just because we've got something else going on here. All right, so we want it in the form y equals a times x minus h squared plus k. So we know we got to complete the square. So what did we do when we completed the square when we had something other than 1 out there? Well, we took out a GCF. So we're going to take a GCF out. So I'm going to take a 2 out of there. And that's going to leave me with x squared minus 2x. Now, if you remember when we completed the square for this, we left the box there and we left the constant outside of it. And we completed the square just for everything, but we took that constant out. So we had to figure out, okay, what are we going to add in here for our box? So it's 1/2 of b, half of 2 is 1, 1 squared is 1. So I'm going to add in 1. Now is where we kind of had that little tricky thing going on in our mind. Because we've added in 1, that means we have to subtract out 1. But now remember, we have to distribute this 2. Technically speaking, we'd have to distribute that 2 in there. So since we have to distribute that 2 in there, we're not going to subtract 1. We're actually going to subtract off 2. Now we factor 2. This is going to be x minus half of a, so x minus 1 squared. And then that's plus 4. So there's our y equals. So we've got our vertex. It's the opposite of what's inside of parentheses, so 1. So our vertex is at 1, 4. If we want to find the focus, we need to know our c value. Well, we know our a value in this case. Our a value is 2. So our formula was a is equal to 1 over 4c. So this is 2 now. So we got 2 is equal to 1 over 4c. Multiply, cross multiply. So you get 8c equals 1, so c equals 1/8. Okay, so now we got to figure this focus out and figure out what this focus looks like. I'm going to sketch the graph to kind of help me figure out where it needs to go. So we've got a vertex at 1, 4. Is it 1, 4? Yeah, it's 1, 4, right? Yep, focus is at 1, 4, which is right there. It's y equals, and our a is positive, so this graph has to look like this. Okay, now that just helps me figure out what I have to do with the 1/8 and the 1/8. So that's my vertex. So exaggeration, obviously. So that distance is 1/8, and then our directrix is down 1/8. So what value is changing, my x value or my y value in my focus? Okay, well, my y value is changing, and how much is it changing by to get to the focus? It's changing by 1/8. So 4 and 1/8. So the focus is at 1 and 4 and 1/8, not 1/2. 4 and 1/8. So there's my focus. The directrix is going to be y equals this time because it's this right here, and it's below it, so I have to subtract it. So it's going to be y equals 3 and 7/8 is my directrix for that one. Okay. So again, it's kind of taking it and doing kind of that piece with it. And again, kind of completing that square and going through that process. Let's take a look at another one. Okay. So I've got a single y in there, so I'm going to go ahead and do the y. So we're going to find the vertex, the directrix, and the focus for this. So y is equal to x squared minus 8x plus our box minus 16 minus our box. It's going to go inside the box. 16, half of 8 squared, yep. So 16 is going to go inside the boxes. Factor it, so y equals x minus 4 squared minus 32. So our vertex is at 4, negative 32. Our a value is equal to 1. So 1 equals 1 over 4c. We've already did this one. So c is equal to 1/4. So we need that c value to find our focus. So again, let's think about what this looks like. We're at 4 and negative 32, which is kind of way down there. It's y equals, so it goes like this. So my focus is going to go along the y value. So my focus is going up. So this is going to be 4. And then negative 32 plus 1/4 is negative 31.75. My directrix is going to be y equals, and we're going to subtract it. So y is equal to negative 32.25. So there are our solutions for this. So really, this becomes a lot about being able to kind of complete that square when we're talking about these. So this was part 2. I know it's a lot of videos and a lot of lessons over 2 days, but you had 2 days to do this plus a quiz sitting in there, a short quiz over matrices that you should have been okay with. So yeah, seems like a little bit of long videos for the last couple days, but you know what? It takes care of 2 days plus a quiz. So that is parabolas and how we go about finding different parts of parabolas. The next thing I think we're going to look at is we're going to look at circles, and really we've kind of got the hard stuff done already. The hard stuff is actually this right here, remembering how to complete the square and doing that part. So if you have trouble completing the square still, please make sure you ask questions. That's kind of what I'm here for. You're not watching the video at this point anyway. So your assignment has been posted. It's just one huge long assignment, probably not that big, but it's just one assignment that you have to take care of over 2 lessons. Get that done, get that taken care of, and we'll see some of you on Monday. The rest of you, you were probably in here while you're doing it. We'll see you probably next Thursday. See ya.